with that being the case, we're going to just do a brief exploration of Joe Biden's history and things that are being said now, which maybe don't necessarily jive or sort of mesh with how he's done or said in the past. So I read a very interesting article by Bernie Sanders, big fan of Bernie Sanders, until he basically caved completely during the primaries. If there was ever a case for Bernie Sanders and what he believed, it was during the pandemic. It was the best opportunity to bring what he believed into America, and he folded like a cheap suit. So, okay, fair enough.
And turn his back on the movement that he built, you know.
Exactly. And that movement's now morphing into the People's Party, which is really exciting to see. So that's obviously, maybe it will lead to something good, and a third party will appear in America. We dare to dream. But anyway, he says here, and it's an interesting article, I warrant that, you know, Joe Biden must put an end to business as usual. Here's where to start. And he gives his suggestions for how Joe Biden must end business as usual in America, because business as usual in America is what led to Trump. Let's not pretend it didn't. So these are very inspiring words here by Bernie Sanders. However, I would counter this headline with this headline. Joe Biden to rich donors, nothing would fundamentally change if he's elected. So what does that tell you, Anton?
Yeah, well, it just goes to show that Bernie Sanders is kind of used as a way to kind of hoover up the left wing, who are disillusioned with business as usual and who want things to fundamentally change. He writes these pieces, makes good speeches, and he hoovers up that left vote, which would otherwise find a home elsewhere, while supporting and caving in to Joe Biden, who is Mr. Status Quo.
Yeah, exactly. This is the thing. They're using Bernie Sanders as basically a beard to disguise what's really going on. And this is what's really going on. And I think this subheading is really interesting, where it says, you know, Biden assures donors no one's standard of living will change. So he obviously means them, but he also means all the people in America who are suffering.
Voting for change, and who were promised change by people like Bernie Sanders. Well, and were promised things by Joe Biden in the campaign, you know, promised it by Obama. And it just goes to show where the loyalties of the Joe Biden, you know, leadership will be. Yeah. It won't be with the average, with the working class, with the people who got him in power, the people who were kind of browbeaten and bullied. Look, we need to vote for Joe Biden because otherwise we get Trump. Bullied and browbeaten into voting for him. And now we can see that it won't be a president. Yeah, there'll be tokenistic things like, you know, the Paris Agreement, you know, all these things that he can just executive order, which are just kind of going back on things that Trump
did,
but there will be no fundamental change to the banking system, which has a big movement of people behind it who want change. And it just goes to show that he will be beholden. It just goes to show who he's beholden to, and Bernie Sanders will get rolled out every time they need you know, excuses or get people fired up for things. And that is Joe Biden is now. He's just like I said, he's just a tool to make sure that the centre left and the left of the Democratic Party stay where they are and carry on voting Democrat.
Yeah, no, exactly.
I think it's just a tool of the neoliberal leadership of Joe Biden and the Democratic Party.
Exactly. Bernie Sanders says this, but Joe Biden's saying this, and that's something you have to be aware of. And for those people who are expecting drastic things to happen, just remember, nothing will fundamentally change. I'm not saying that. We're not saying that. Joe Biden's saying that to rich people. He's not saying that to normal people. He's saying that to rich people. So next on our fun things, obviously Joe Biden did a load of executive orders, which we touched on, and one of them was to extend the pause on student loan payments, which is good. But key words, pause, not forgive or anything like that. Just pause. All right, that's fine. Again, people going, oh, so brilliant, so brilliant. But then why are people on the hook for student loans, especially who've lost their jobs, who've gone bankrupt? I wonder why that is. Ooh, let's just cast our minds back briefly here.
Rewind.
How Biden helped strip bankrupt protection from millions just before the recession. Yes. And this was for student loans. Mm-hmm. Yes. Excellent. The one thing that education in the US is extortionately expensive. You can come out with debts of $250,000 upwards these days. Any other kind of debt, you go bankrupt, that can be written off. But Joe Biden made sure that even if you lose your job and are bankrupt and don't have a penny to your name.
Yeah. But let's remember, Joe Biden cares about the little man. Joe Biden cares about young people and students and ethnic minorities and all that. Look at this. This is disgraceful. And then we're supposed to kind of cheer when he does pause student loans, which are too high, without realizing that he's the architect of why that is. He's an architect of the legislation he's doing. He's backtracking on right now. And if you start a business and go bankrupt, those debts are wiped. Joe Biden here.
What does he stand for? Again, this is what we're seeing, and this is really interesting. This down the bottom here, and gallingly, the bill made it completely impossible to discharge student loan debt. Completely impossible. Yeah. So any other kind of debt, business debt, other personal loan debt, credit card debt,
everything
within a certain set of criteria, of course, where you can write off pretty much anything.
Yeah.
No, you're taking that student loan debt to your grave, and Biden helped to make that happen. Again, we're whitewashing this. We're saying, oh, he's so great for pausing this. Well, a large number of people who are now suffering and dealing with crippling debt whilst not having any income or job or dealing with bankruptcy, they're suffering because of the things Joe Biden helped contribute to knowingly. Next on our agenda, our tour through Joe Biden's brain, what he said and what people then suddenly think he's doing. So another executive order he gave out yesterday, which again, really good. I am pleased this is happening.
Joe Biden,
he rejoins the Paris Climate Accord. Perfect. However, I am old enough to remember just 3 months ago when our warrior for the climate was saying things like this.
No matter how many lies he tells, I am not banning fracking, period.
Did you hear that, ladies and gentlemen? He is not banning fracking, period.
But what a climate
he's a warrior
hero.
For climate. He's a warrior for climate, but he's not banning fracking. Not even. Sorry, not would mean he is.
Triple negative there.
Yeah. Oh, you got me with the triple negative.
So, I just find it painful that with these things, that, for a fact, Twitter and other spaces are exploding with that. Isn't this fantastic?
Yeah.
And it's purely to just give a certain strata of American society.
It's
performative. That's it. Round of applause. When actually, substantively, he's again he isn't a candidate for change, and he's got to carry on with fracking, which is demonstrable. I mean, how many more people do we need to see who can light their tap water on fire before we realise that it's got huge ecological concerns, and and it's damaging communities
communities, the environment, people's health, and is contributing to, guess what, that thing he wants to tackle, global warming. He's all for it. That's not, again, this isn't us saying it. That's him saying it. And the fact that people can't remember back to 3 months ago when they announced these things, suddenly everyone's like, oh, he's back in the climate accord. Yeah, but what did he actually say when he was asked? What did he campaign on? And here we go. This is it. So what's the big thing that was gaining traction to deal with the climate emergency? The Green New Deal. Well, again, I'm old enough to remember, but 3 months ago when Joe Biden said live at the debate on TV in front of the world, he does not back the Green New Deal.
And there was something comical about this as well, because in the specific interview, he starts arguing the case for the Green New Deal.
Yeah.
And he's, it will create jobs, it will make more money than it,
pay for itself.
It'll pay for itself. And then when the interviewer asked him, do you support it? And he said, no, of course I don't support it. And the reason why he said no is because he's made promises to big oil that he won't ban these things, that he won't, business as usual. Nothing will fundamentally change.
Listen to what he has stood for for his entire life. And what he said just 3 months ago, before you start getting all idealistic and rosy-eyed about what he's actually doing now.
Because and I could kind of see if this was a video or a position he had years ago, 10 years ago or whatever, even when he was in the, the Obama's vice president, I can kind of see, okay, people change.
3 months.
People can develop their ideas and change their mind. This is literally yesterday politically, in political terms. This is right now.
September. Unbelievable. And obviously, last and not least, are the accusations against Joe Biden when it comes to his behavior and treatment of women. And obviously, this was a very topical thing, which basically started the Me Too movement, which was a fantastically powerful movement, and it was positive and it was healthy, and it needed to happen because fucking hell, there are some serious problems in our societies with how women are treated and how men feel they can treat women, and et cetera, et cetera. And it was brilliant that this was happening. And people like Trump and Brett Kavanaugh, who was the Supreme Court nominee, who got hammered because there was sexual assault allegation against him, and that was a whole big thing. That was good, and that needed to happen. And we need to believe women. That's what Me Too was saying. Until believe all women. Until it's our guy. Until it's our guy. Because just to summarize, if people don't know, because you don't hear it, because no one fucking covers it anymore. No one talks about it because it's taboo. But essentially, 8 women have alleged that Joe Biden either touched them inappropriately or violated their personal space in ways that made them uncomfortable. One of these women, Tara Reid, alleges Biden sexually assaulted her in 1993. And on the right-hand side, I've put her little testimony as to what happened. And if you read that, it's pretty fucking awful. Definitely. And you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of a certain orange president saying something like, "Oh, I'm going to grab her by the pussy," and then people losing their fucking minds. So explain to me how this is different. How is this different?
Yeah, it just goes to show it isn't different at all. If this was anyone on the other side of the aisle politically, they would be crucified, and it would not leave the news cycle. It would come up in every interview. You'd have journalists grandstanding, rightfully, going after Trump or whatever. But when it's Joe Biden and we've got to win this election, the right women and believable women just completely disappears, and it really bugs me because it's like either we have values or we don't. And this was such a positive movement towards gender equality and things like this, and it died as soon as there was an election where they needed the Democrats to win. And either we believe women or we don't. Either we support gender equality or we don't. And this might be after all the things we've just gone through, this might be the biggest one for me. Because how can we pretend to have values if we just throw something like rape and sexual assault out the window? Look at when Brett Kavanaugh was up for the Supreme Court, how the media went after him when similar claims.
And rightly so. But
and then as soon as it's a blue man, we don't have values anymore. We don't believe women, and this makes me despair. Really,
and this is the thing, and this is exactly what happened. The founder of Me Too basically threw Me Too, her own movement, under the bus by saying Joe Biden can be accountable and electable. Well, if he sexually assaulted someone, he can't be electable by Me Too's own logic. So what are we doing here? And this is the thing. You have since that Joe Biden incident, where then it was all pushed under the rug. Where's Me Too gone? It's gone. It's gone. It's literally gone. No one's talking about it anymore. Joe Biden killed the Me Too movement because they killed it because they were like, it's more important that he wins against Trump than we actually have standards and actually accountability to ourselves. We're going to burn all that. And forego the right to, because how do you criticize anyone on the right ever again now? Because if they
resuscitate this movement and try it when it's the right thing.
Exactly. If now someone on the right is nominated for something and they're horrible and they've got accusations of sexual assault, etc., 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 and we on the left go, oh, he's awful, and the right goes, well, so what? You did the same thing when it was your man. it's all performative, it's all lip service, and the moment it doesn't fit you politically, at the moment it's not politically expedient, whoop, no problem, we'll drop that, we'll kill that, because our man needs to get in. We need to be, our rapist is better than his rapist, or sorry, our accused rapist is better than his accused rapist. So you know what? We're gonna pretend it doesn't happen when it comes to our time.
Oh, this is a good subject to hit Trump over the head with. As soon as it's our gate, let's put that tool back into the shed and forget about it. Yeah.
And speaking about tools that we are either using or not using, that transitions us nicely into our next topic.